Okay, so good day again, and welcome to the lesson 3 for Yii PHP Framework. So, in this lesson, what we're going to discuss will be how to connect the users table that we created on the previous lessons. Then we're going to use that uh, table from that database for our login. So as you can see on the past lesson, we're using static accounts under the user.php page or file, and that is how we create the account and we use for login to the system. But then, of course, it's going to be cumbersome if you have more than 3 users, right? Because we have currently 3 users on the user.php. If you have 100 users, if you're going to use the static login, then you're going to create and encode manually the users on that page, and you cannot just dynamically change the name, the username and password, but you're going to do it manually if uh, we do that strategy. So for now, um, we're going to show you how to update your user.php and connect it to the user's database. Okay, so um, let's start. When I did this on all other systems that we had, like Ubra and Ears, no, actually it's called Ubra as well, and other projects. I need to do it manually and had to research each component. So what we're going to do here is that I have a working code already for this, and that what you're going to do is back up the user.php, replace it with the one that we had, make a modification on the users table to match the uh, elements or columns on the user.php. Then after that, we're going to test if we did it correctly. Let's look into the user.php. Okay, so actually in your project there, you go to C drive examp htdocs, the project name that you have if it's different than mine, then under models folder, then you go to user.php. You're going to open this, of course, with notepad. Okay, and this is how the user.php look like out of the box, right? And we modified it on the past lessons where we changed the password, then of course added a user which is entitled or named user3. So now if you check the code. This code is actually created by Yii itself out of the box. And I know some of you are not yet familiar with the syntaxes. Okay, so usually to make this easier is we go to uh, grab the codes prepared so that for you to understand how these codes work. Okay, we're going to divide the screen and open the code that we're going to use so that we can compare this. Okay, so this is the original code and this is the new code that we're going to use. So currently we have a classes here from the Yii that it's going to be used. Okay, so and some of this were removed already, right? And some were changed. But most of the components are retained. Okay, so since this is a crash course, I'm going to uh, discuss it in layman's term, okay, so that it's easy for you to understand and simplify the discussion. So for now, we're going to save this file with the same file name under the models folder. So what we're going to do is rename the original user file so that if ever we need to go back and use the static version of the user.php, we can. Okay, and this one, I'm going to save this as, you're going to C drive examp htdocs e2 project and models. I'm going to change the save as type because usually it's default with .text file extension. We're going to set it as all files so that we can rename the files opened by Notepad to any file format that we can, right? Okay, and save this one. Okay, so we have now the new user.php. Going to close this one as well as this one. Okay, now what we're going to do next is we're going to modify the users table so that it wouldn't match the column names specified by the user.php file. Okay. So from here, as you can see, when we open the new user.php, it says here that we're going to get the database, return the database, and the container would be db, and we're going to set what is the table name. So currently the table name on our users, after these users under the u2 database. Okay, so this one, users. Okay, users. We're going to change this to users, and let's save this. So we usually, best practice would be to save any changes as we move along, or we save your code. So from here, this next line is, once it connect to the database and the users table, it's going to check the IDs. Okay, so on the structure, this one, the ID. Then after that, it's going to check if there's a token column and store it under token variable. So variable, usually it's a in PHP, right? PHP. So variable starts with the $sign for PHP. Since we're using PHP, right? PHP is a server scripting language and a powerful tool for making dynamic and interactive web pages. Actually, to quickly understand this, since PHP is a scripting language and it says our server side, that means the when you connect or open or run a PHP file, it will run on its server where it is hosted or located. And after the PHP script runs, it will provide you the data that you need. Okay. Some languages, usually it runs on the client side. Okay. This one is runs on the server side. Okay. Let's okay. Example, this for the client side script is JavaScript. Okay, it will run not on the server side but on your computer when you access it. Okay, so here's a brief explanation. So client-side scripts is a program that processes within the client browser, like JavaScript. And while server-side script runs on the server or the web server when the user requests information. Okay, so that means it depends on your uh, internet, right? And of course on your computer, because we have antiviruses and our browsers have firewalls and ad blockers or script blockers. At times, when a HTML site has to run a JavaScript and it's blocked by your browser, it will not run. Okay, it will produce an error. But then, when you're accessing PHP files, regardless of the internet, right? As long as your connection with the server when you access it via your browser is stable, um, it will disregard your um, uh, ad blockers or script blockers, and it would depend on how fast your server for it to deliver you the PHP data that you needed. But then on the client side, it will depend on your resources, because it's your since you are the one accessing the um, a script that is for the client side. Okay, so now going back. Okay, so as you can see, um, these are the indicators that you're accessing a PHP file. And of course, usually for PHP file, just a bit of uh, information, since this is more on Yii than the PHP language. Here are indicators that you are accessing a PHP file. Usually, when you see this script here, or tags, okay, or tags. This is the open tag for PHP, and usually it ends with this one, question mark and front caret. Okay, this one and okay. So currently, since this is part of uh, multiple scripts, right, multiple PHP files, usually the closing tag is on other pages. Okay, so since PHP can actually combine the PHP files or scripts in one page that you're accessing. Okay, but usually complete tag would be this one, which is the open tag, and this one is the closing tags for PHP. Okay, so now let's go back for us to not get lost. So from here, we need to set an auth key. Okay, auth key, a column, and set the password field and the user name field. Okay, so let's go to our database. This one, the structure. So we have the username. So I'm going to use this under the find username. I'm going to change this one. Okay. Then after that, let's save this. Get ID, of course, ID has a column name already on the table or column header. And auth key, need to find the auth key. Just take a look here. Okay. So there is no auth key and there is no token. Yes, there is a token here. There is no access token. Okay, so we're going to add those columns, and on the password, let's go. I'm going to copy this one first and change this to password. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to create an auth key and access token. Okay, access token. So going to copy this one, and from here we're going to add two columns, right, on the page admin. So we're going to set it to here. Then we're going to place these two columns would be after password. So let's click. Okay. You have the access token, and the other one is the auth key, right? Auth key. Okay, so we're going to set this as varchar. Okay, varchar. So we can place any characters, and I'm going to set the length of the characters to 10 and save. Okay. Now we're going to add another one table here because we want to know when was the user added. So add another column, another auth key. I'm going to create it as date created, and from here, because we want to do it automatically when we create the user, we go to change the type to timestamp. For timestamp, we don't need to set the length or values. Okay. Okay. So from here, we created the access token, auth key, and date created. Now, we're going to set a default value for auth key, right, or token. Okay, for this too, so that each time we create a user under the users form we had on the last lesson, it's going to be automatically inserted. the access token and auth key. Okay, so let's change the access token by clicking change, and we're going to set this one as defined. Then we're going to say auth key, right? Auth key 100. Okay, that is just an example. Sorry, since it's access token, change this one. Token, it's more than 10 values. Okay, so token, let's say token 100 and just save it. And we're going to do the same with the auth key as defined, auth key 100. So that's okay. So what we did is we place a default value for access token and auth key. So when we go to the users, okay, since this is a user we previously created, we can manually insert the authentication key, token 100. So what we did there is we double click on the field, okay, let's check, is it correct? Token 100 and auth key. Okay, because when we try to log in, it will check if there's an access token and auth key. If there's none, you won't be able to log in. Okay, so I think we have completed the change on the database side on the table. We have changed the, we have completely mapped the username with the correct column name on the table. You have the ID, of course we have the auth key already. Auth key. We also added the default value for that. And the password, we also map the password column to the user.php file. Okay, so we will test this if it's going to work. Okay, fingers crossed. Let's refresh it. You can refresh using the browser refresh button, or Control R or Control F5. Okay, after that we need to check the username first, kasi just to be sure. Okay, we already had successfully connected our users table to our login. So to check this, we're going to create a new user. Example, Sir Jonathan Marivelas, and let's see, Sir Jones would be, the password is 1234. Okay, password is 1234. So let's check. Number Beles, Jones, password, and 1234. So let's log out. Okay, so it worked. Okay, so for now we had completed this um, lesson, and what we're expecting from you is you're going to do this simulation at your end. I'm going to provide you the new user.php and follow this video to make this lesson work on your side. So thank you again and have a good day.